Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. I've just realised I don't know what episode number this is. 33?
33, yes, that is correct.
33. I record another podcast series, and in that recordings that we've just done recently, I've been out by about 3 episodes for the last couple of episodes we've done for that. So horribly wrong on the numbering. So I'm very aware that I'm very bad at podcast numbers. So episode 33, thank you for confirming, Rob. And with me as always is Rob, partner in crime, co-host extraordinaire, hasn't missed a podcast in 33 episodes.
Keeper of the numbers is also my role.
Keeper of the numbers, absolutely. But today we have a new guest with us. You may know her from her time on Mass Reflect, but you might not have been checking that out because you might not be a huge Mass Effect fan. But the question is, what's wrong with you? But, you know, still, that's fine. I guess people can be into other things, I suppose, if I'm being generous. But she is Leia, and she's joining us today. And welcome to the podcast.
Hello. How exciting. Maybe you should name the podcast instead of number them.
I do give them subtitles as well. However, I usually come up with a subtitle based on what happens in the podcast.
But no, I mean like a name, like Magenta or something.
This is podcast episode Dave.
Yeah.
I do kind of love that. It would make people's, you know, when you're looking at like the pod feed, it would be very confusing to make sure you get stuff in the right order.
The thing is, if we did podcast episode Dave, we would just have to repeat all of the news that we covered in like episode 3, like on repeat, because that's what Dave does.
That was actually quite good. I quite like that.
Yeah.
I'm
not just bad puns. I'm actually legitimately funny sometimes.
You should do stand up, mate. You should do stand up. I've definitely paid to watch that.
I'm comfy sat down.
We need to stop now. We need to stop now because I want to talk to Leia and find out a bit about her gaming passions other than Mass Effect, though I imagine she will touch on that. Though
yes.
We do have 3
CDF
episodes.
Cushion next.
So I'm wearing and I've got an Andromeda Initiative shirt on today, so I am a Mass Effect fan as well, as we all know. But yeah, do check those episodes out if you are interested in Mass Effect. But let's talk a bit more about your history with gaming, Leia, and like where you know your love for games developed. What was your first console, that kind of thing? Favorite franchise? We know it's Mass Effect, but what about from your youth? Let's get to know you a bit.
Okay, so my first console was a SNES, and it was amazing, and I had the Nintendo Scope, which was brilliant. It was about 3 foot long. I think my first thing that I really, really loved was Super Mario World. Me and my friend Josie just completed it and then found the Star World and flipped the world and then completed it again and then did it again. It was amazing. It was best. What else was there? There was a really weird game, well, not weird, but not very popular, I guess, which was the game tie-in to The Hunt for Red October on the SNES.
What kind of game was it?
Blue September?
Oh, you made a joke about something to do with the months then, and thankfully he broke up halfway through it. What did you say, Rob?
Hunt for Blue September instead of Red October?
Yeah. I'm so glad we got to the bottom of that. You were saying, Leia. Tell me about this game.
It was kind of like a side-scroller submarine game where you shot things with the torpedoes, and I believe they were tiny little sharks.
Sharks?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of sharks. You could see sharks.
I don't remember sharks being part of that movie, but
no.
I don't remember that movie. So
it's a good movie.
Ahead of me.
It's Hunt for Red October.
It's
oh my gosh.
Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Yes, this submarine must survive.
I mean,
pretty much.
Not far off. I mean, he did the worst Russian accent via Scotland throughout the film.
He didn't even try to do a Russian accent, let's be honest.
I mean, was...
I'm from Moscow.
He'd say things like Russian names like Anatoly, and he'd be like, Anatoly. Be just like, what is this? It's so good. It's a really good movie, though. It's really good movie. Yeah. It's a Jack Ryan movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's connected to that Tom Clancy verse. Like, there's a lot of films in that verse. So now, of course, there's the Jack Ryan TV show on Amazon. So it's all connected and stuff, all the same. And Without Remorse as well with Michael B. Jordan. But yeah, that game sounds like one of those classic early film tie-ins that is just sort of like they've put the name on it, but the game doesn't really reflect the film or anything about the themes or the style of the movie, does it? It's just an action game set with submarines. So
yeah, it was good. I mean, the most reason I remember that one is because I lost it and then got in trouble with my mum and dad. Don't know what happened to it. Still didn't know when we moved years later.
You lost
Never found it again. Yeah.
Famously, SNES games not cheap. Like
no,
expensive cartridges, those things. So yeah, it's probably like 40 or 50 quid down the back of the sofa there.
Yeah, so but it wasn't down the back of the sofa. I don't know where it went. Still don't.
Maybe your mate stole it. I had that happen to me, where friends would come over to play video games, and then certain video games would disappear, and I'd be like, oh, I guess he borrowed that then.
It's weird because she didn't have a SNES, but yes, never mind.
This is why I just have animal friends. Arthur can't play video games. He can't steal them from me.
It's very true. He is looking very cute today. What else? So Mario, Hunt for Red October, big SNES stuff. What else did you play on it?
More Mario All Stars, and then more Mario. Just Mario. And then we sold it to my friend Emma and bought PC.
Did you play much on the PC?
Yes, there was Doom, obviously.
So you were playing Doom. How old were you when you were playing Doom, the original?
13, 14.
Love it. Everybody was too young to play Doom. I was the same, but it was just like back then, parents didn't understand video games, did they?
Yeah, I was 29 when I played Doom.
Yes.
I did it a few weeks ago for Game Pass Club.
You did, and you loved it. So I'm so glad. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Very good game.
What else was there? And there was this weird little kind of like top-down woodland game that I don't remember what it was. And then I kind of didn't play games for a while. And then I got a Game Boy. And then there was Pokemon.
So you and Rob can share conversations about the Pokemon, can't you?
Oh, it's so good. But it was like, I think I had Red. Literally.
Okay. What was your starter?
Bulbasaur.
Good choice. Very good choice.
You see, this is what I do. I always, for everything, buy the strategy guide and work out the best way of doing everything. I don't leave it to chance.
Yeah, Bulbasaur always was shat on as like the bad choice when actually he is the best choice.
Yeah.
Especially in those old games for how the mechanics were broken.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very good decision.
Yes. Yay me. And then I think it was just Pokemon from then on out for ages. I think. Yeah.
No Tetris on that Game Boy?
Oh, we had Tetris. Yeah, we had Tetris on the PC because we got a little floppy disk with it on.
So knockoff Tetris, not real
Yes.
Tetris. Right, okay.
Well, I used to go to computer fairs with my dad.
Awesome.
And he used to like build our computers after a while. So, yeah, and my mum wanted Tetris. So, yeah, lots of Tetris, but not proper Tetris, shall we say.
That was an era of whenever a popular game like that came out, it was always a rush to see if you could port and clone it onto PC. Sell it at computer fairs, magazine, cover discs, that kind of thing. It was a very, very common thing. It's actually how id got started. So id started before they made Doom, before they made Wolfenstein. The project that Carmack and Romero worked on together was an attempt to bring Mario to the PC, because the technology used for Mario on the SNES used a form of streaming on the levels that they found really difficult to reproduce onto PC. And then Carmack cracked it, and that's where the kind of the smooth level progression that you see in Doom started, as a Mario clone on PC. I believe they ended up, it wasn't Alex the Kid, I don't think, but it was something like that. There was quite a lot of those rip-offs of those types of games, because before they got the smooth thing going on, I don't know if you remember, early platformers on PC, the whole screen would like be one screen and then it would be another screen. So it's like your guy would move on to a second screen, and then obviously Mario had that contiguous smooth scrolling. So yeah.
I mean, there were various PC games as well. There was obviously Civ. Played loads of Civ. And what else was there? Mech Warrior 2. I am the Jade Falcon Star Commander.
Very cool games. Which Civ was it? Civ 1, Civ 2?
Civilization 2 Quarter Power was my favourite.
Yeah, great game. Really, really
And then, obviously, being a person who loves cats, there was Cats and Dogs 5, all the ones in between. So basically, from 2 to 5, I played all of those.
I didn't even know they made those games. I know Nintendogs existed.
And this is before then.
Yeah,
It's Dogs and Cats with a Z at the end.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And it was all about, like, raising dogs and cats and breeding them and feeding them and taking care of them and whatnot.
I hope you weren't breeding them together, no? To create a dog cat. That would be weird.
No, that was a Nickelodeon TV show.
That was a thing? Oh my
Yeah.
God, the horror. Okay. So, yep, SNES to PC. What came after that?
Yeah. Game Boy. And then Game Boy Color. And then at that point, I was so obsessed with Pokemon, I bought 2 Game Boys so I could transfer Pokemon between myself.
You had 2 Game Boys.
This was in university.
I mean, that doesn't make it better.
I understand that logic 100% and approve completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't judge now with my multiple Xboxes. However,
No.
I can't believe at that point you had 2 consoles. That's pretty awesome. I respect that. I respect that a lot.
What was it was the Game Boy Advance that was more of the horizontal one, wasn't it? I had that as well. The clear purple one, so you could see all the bits in it.
Did you get the SP after that as well?
No.
You never had an
I never got that
SP?
one.
Oh, with the built-in backlight. Oh, that's so much better.
I never had one.
No, you had to sit at a certain angle underneath the light so you could see what you were doing.
So, would you say you were like a handheld gamer first? Like, you loved that portable experience, or...?
Well, no, because my first one was the SNES, so I say it was just because obviously I went off to university that I took my handheld consoles with me and the PC stayed at home. Not one PC here at home. Yeah, it was because I was moving about a bit, shall we say.
Yeah, so what came after that then? What came after the Game Boys?
I think I fell off it for a little bit. And then I met someone who had loads of games, shall we say.
So it
Yes.
rekindled your interest in gaming again in a more hardcore sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So when we get into the modern era, I'm going to just take a wild guess here and say, because we know your love of Mass Effect, I'm going to guess you're a bit of an RPG fan.
Yes, but very specifically. I mean, people could say, oh, you're a casual gamer. I'm not. I'm a very specific gamer. I will play hundreds of hours, but only of things I like.
So what are some of those?
Or, let's think, Fable 2, Fable 3, Oblivion. I loved Oblivion. Played, what was it? Must have been about 300 hours of Oblivion.
Whew. That's no small amount.
Nope. And played it several times. Skyrim. I like Oblivion better than Skyrim, just because of the magic mechanic.
Okay.
And then all the Pokemons, basically. Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Subnautica. I like some Assassin's Creed games, but I haven't been able to get into the latest ones. They're just a bit too... not Ezio.
Well, they've shifted, haven't they? They're a lot less focused and a lot more open world than they were before, which makes it a bit more
I like
difficult.
that.
Yeah, some people have definitely been pushed aside with that change in style. I personally still absolutely love them, but I can see why it's not the game people want. If you're a fan of, say, the Ezio Trilogy 3 and stuff like that, it then becomes this big open world experience, which just lacks focus. It's not got that same narrative drive, does it? So it's a different experience. But so go on then, I'll put you on the spot. Favorite game. Well, let's go last gen. So Xbox One, PS4 era. What was your favorite game? Subnautica. Cool. Yeah, we're going to talk a bit more about that later, aren't we? What's your favorite console of all time?
Ooh.
Or platform? We'll say platform. Could be PC.
Xbox, I'd say.
Which Xbox?
All of them.
No, you got to pick one.
He's a
I guess the one I had the most fun on was the 360.
Oblivion,
Yeah.
Fable,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely has that generation. It's a really strong generation. Yeah, the 360 PS3 era is very, very, very strong for console games. It was kind of when PC games had kind of lost their way a little bit. Like the ports that were coming out then were really sort of substandard, and PC was definitely just focused on its own stuff. And now, of course, PC is in a massive resurgence for what's coming out on that platform. What other questions, Rob, can we think of?
Favorite Pokemon of all time?
Eevee.
Yeah, good choice.
Well, Eevee, and then the evolved form would be Umbreon.
Ooh, why Umbreon?
It is a dark Pokemon, and they're awesome.
Yes, you are not wrong. Yeah,
So,
good choices.
what about starting Pokemon, though? What's your favourite starting Pokemon?
Ooh, my favourite starting one, probably Cyndaquil.
I like Torchic.
I was never a fan. Gen 3 was the one gen I kind of missed a little bit. I never had a Game Boy Advance. I played Sapphire when I had a DS and had played Diamond and Pearl because I managed to get hold of Pearl for a £5 caseless from Game. That was an absolute win. And yeah, so I kind of missed Gen 3. This is like podcast difficulty modifying.
I'm loving it. I am loving it so much.
I'm totally distracted.
I was just watching what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
So good.
So Cyndaquil was because Gold was my first Pokemon game.
Oh, okay.
They got Gold and Yellow given to me at the same time by my dad as the Game Boy Color. So it was.
For those that aren't watching the video, you should be watching the video.
Yeah,
this is the best.
It's timestamp. It's just me trying to have a conversation whilst a cat uses me as a jungle gym.
The best bit is every time he goes in front of your face, it muffles your audio loads, and it's just like so funny.
What would you say is your favourite Pokemon generation of all time?
Oh, I think Sapphire. I absolutely loved that one. I played that so much.
Mm.
I mean, I like this current one that we've got as well. But what was the one before this one?
That was Galar. Kalos with the islands. With the kahunas. Yeah,
that one went a bit mental.
Yeah, I kind of see, but Ben's just tuning out at this point. I kind of see where you're coming from on that one. It was a nice shake-up to the formula, but at the same time, I want the formula because the formula is nice.
Yes. I don't need to go to different dimensions.
The Ultra Beast dimension, you need to go to the dimensions. Yeah.
It was a bit weird.
For me, it will always be Johto. Always Gen 2. That is my perfect wheelhouse of Gold and Silver. You finish the first region and you go, yeah, so I finished. Oh shit, there's another region I can play. The fuck? That moment always sticks with me in games.
I always liked when Yellow, though, when you had the Pikachu going after you.
That's one of the most frequently requested features. It's why it was added in the DLC for Sword and Shield, that you could have Pokemon following you on the two DLC islands, because fans don't shut up about that.
It was cute.
Yes. I suspect that in the Legend of Arceus game that we're getting in January next year, I think it is, or very early February next year, I reckon there'll be Pokemon following in that as well, which I will be all over.
Yeah, definitely. But then, and the remakes of Diamond and Pearl. Oh, looking forward to that.
I'm a little bit dubious because chibi style, so I'm a little bit, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna
to save Ben's sanity. Should we talk about CDPR?
I was gonna ask one more question actually before I go into the news, which was what thing do you dislike the most about modern gaming?
You say microtransactions because I know Ben does them.
multiplayer.
What, just online multiplayer?
Yeah, people in general. I don't like interacting with people in games.
Have you not had good experiences online?
I've had weird experiences where random people just keep following me. A bit weird in the game, so I have to in Destiny, which I like Destiny. Destiny's brilliant. I'll play it, but I'm more happy pottering around than going on strikes with random people I don't know, because I don't like it.
Then you just have to race like I do and then not interact with them. It's fine.
Yeah.
Rob loves my speed running of strikes. That's why he lives for it.
Because you speedrun, die, and then I have to pick up the pieces.
Yep. It's the natural order of things, clearly. So
you rush in and make a mess, and I clean it up.
Right then, should we will move on to the news. Leia, I hope feel free, jump in. Any thoughts on any of these? Do dive on in. But I'm starting us off with Cyberpunk news.
Somewhere Cameron has just twitched. It's just gone quiet. They're talking about Cyberpunk again.
Like that. Basically, so you guys remember they got hacked, hacksaws, ransomwared. So the guys that did that came out and said, right, we've sold this shit to someone, and it's going to be kept under wraps, that person. But it turns out they did sort of a deal with them to reduce the kind of the amount the guy was paying to buy it from these horrible hacksaws. They did a deal to say there's going to be a limited exclusivity on his purchase, and now they've started to leak stuff out online asking for donations, charitable donations, though there's no proof of that, to then provide, basically software development kits behind Cyberpunk and assets and trailers and videos. And
so is this the worrying moment where in about 6 months we're going to get a pirated version of Cyberpunk that actually runs better than the normal version of Cyberpunk?
I would be surprised, because it would have to be based on you don't know how many months or years previous a build. So I'd be very surprised if they could somehow make that better, because of the amount of work involved with just getting it to where it was for release. But I just think I have to you have to respect CD Projekt Red's stance on this, which was they didn't pay him a dime. They said, do your worst, we will not give you what you want. I think a lot of companies, and it's not like CD Projekt Red didn't have the money for this, a lot of companies would have quietly paid, kept it all under wraps. You never have heard this would have happened, right? And it would have just been done. But CD Projekt, they were like, nope, we are not giving into this. We will pursue you legally. And this stuff is now sort of slowly appearing onto the internet. I think they must have quite a lot of faith in what they've done to not worry too much about that. And there's some silly videos at the moment which have been circulated, basically, which show internal videos of shenanigans within the Cyberpunk engine and stuff, silly videos with silly music over them, but nothing too serious. So we still don't know these guys that are threatening this, again, another revenue stream that they're trying to create for themselves around this hacked, illegally acquired material. It's mind-blowing that they can get away with it, isn't it? It's mind-blowing that these guys haven't been caught and dealt with and shut down. They obviously are covering their tracks very successfully.
I feel really sorry for CD Projekt Red. I mean, they've got enough shit going on at the minute, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have enough problems to be getting on with. They don't need this one as well. But yeah.
Unsurprisingly, they just said they're massively off their projected earnings for the Q1 of this year, way off, just massively. That's not a shock, is it? Considering they're not even on the PlayStation Store at the moment.
Well, they published a updated timeline for when patches and things coming out with no actual determination of dates.
Isn't it just random bars that say,
yes,
hopefully here?
Absolutely no correspondence to what sort of months they even are, let alone weeks or dates. It's the most useful timescale in the world, because it's just a straight line and some points on it. That's
it's just time and no scale.
Yes.
Over time, we hope to do some stuff.
Yes. At some point this year, this might happen. is what they've narrowed it down to.
No promises though.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's it's just, you know, they've got those combined megazord of legal challenges coming their way. They've got still trying to get the game fixed. They've got huge negative press. It just rains, doesn't it? I'm raining on them so hard. There's also word that kind of like, I think they're looking to get bought. I think they want out. There's more wording and rumors about them seeking acquisition opportunities.
Yeah.
But it's written in a way that you could interpret it as they're looking to buy, but it could also be read as they're looking to sell. So I think if someone came along at this point, because you have to think it's run at the top by basically 5 or 6 individuals, if somebody's coming along to buy and those guys can get out of this incredibly stressful situation that they are now in, I would sell, wouldn't you? Like, it's all gone to hell, and it's basically gone to hell because of those 6 people's decisions due to, I want this game out now. And I'd want out. But I think, you know, at the minute as well, in the industry we're in right now, you've got a lot of really big players making very aggressive acquisitions. It's a really good time to look to sell. There's a lot of people looking to grow their business.
Cyberpunk powered by Xbox.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be that surprising. I would have thought, actually, if they hadn't purchased Bethesda when they did, if it had been a few months later, with Cyberpunk then looking to sell, they might have considered CG Projekt as the acquisition instead of Bethesda. But I can't imagine them adding that to the portfolio. They've already got Obsidian under there as well, so they've got a lot of RPGs.
What's going to be a massive put-off is the disaster that Cyberpunk 2077 was.
Yeah, but they still have a big fan base.
Yeah.
And beyond that, they could split these, but they also have GOG. So that's also CD Projekt Red, which has become one of the most reputable sort of retro publishing houses, but also new games as well now. But yeah, they do incredible work with getting old games out and making them work on Windows 10, and I love them for that. But they've got good name recognition. The Witcher alone, that is a very, very powerful franchise that will sell a lot of number 4, regardless of how broken it is. So yeah, I don't know who'd buy them at this point. Maybe 2K could be looking. I mean, there was a bit of a fight between EA and 2K over Codemasters, for example. So, you know, there are people wanting to buy, wanting to grow. So it's an interesting place, the market right now.
Indeed.
Very interesting. But yeah, I hope things get better for them, basically. You got the next one, Rob?
Indeed. Next up, we have this month, of course, the month of June at time of recording, is Pride Month, celebrating inclusivity of all LGBTQIA plus individuals or in various different businesses and just generally in life. You know, they should be celebrated and included, 100%, right? So Injustice, the fighting game franchise, decided to do a special event for Pride Month that they thought was just an absolute hit. So one of the characters on their roster, Poison Ivy, is historically bisexual or pansexual. They are very open to basically anyone.
I thought she was plant sexual.
I'm just going to skate over that one. So the Injustice devs decided, let's do an event where you have to beat this character up for the next month. So in a month celebrating the LGBTQ community, they proceeded to create an event where you repeatedly attack one. Which is just really stupid.
I'm laughing now because it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Who thought of that? They're a bloody muppet.
Yes.
So
they have retracted this now and gone, yeah, okay, we kind of fucked up on this one.
So I want to give some context a little bit around this. So this is for Injustice 2 on mobile. I think did Rob say that? I can't remember if Rob said that or not. But it's for mobile, not the console version.
Oh, okay.
In addition, they run on that weekly, bi-weekly events that are structured like this. So there'll be a focus on a particular character. It's like a challenge character. You beat that character up, you fight that character, and you get certain rewards, right? So they clearly, this is someone has not thought this through, and it's just like, we've got this model. Oh, Pride Month, they said I need to use Poison Ivy, plug it in, turns on Poison Ivy for this event. Did not consider the optics on beating up the bisexual character to get extra like rewards for Harley Quinn and Ivy skins. It's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, it on so many levels, it just shows you, doesn't it? You're talking about the ignorance, you're talking about the lack of understanding, you're talking about the lack of thought, and it's all indicative of how the LGBT community is thought of by these corporations. This I forget there's a term for it, but this like hand waving acknowledgement of Pride Month by these large corporations, where they change their little badge, don't they? And they put the colours on. You know what? I've seen everybody's doing it, right? Everyone literally is doing it this month, to the point of I was watching a wrestling program the other night, and the guy comes out wearing his Pride Month shirt with his specific rainbow. And look, that wrestler could be massively in support of it, and look, raising awareness is important and is very, very, very important, and it's right. But then that was the thinking behind this decision. So you can this was a desire to get in on this, and you could argue to raise awareness, but look at how wrong you got it. I mean, come on.
There are much better ways to do it. Donations to charities like Stonewall, for example, that is, from proceeds as a mobile game. Inevitably, MTXs will be involved in this. So make a percentage of any proceeds go to Stonewall or other such suitable charities. I believe the Pride organisation in the UK has a list, if anyone did want to look those up. Then, there are loads of charities out there that do lots of valuable work. So there's lots of ways that this could have been done, rather than, here is a character that falls under this umbrella, punch them. They have released a statement apologising deeply and condemning violence directed at the LGBTQIA+ community, and they've deemed themselves insensitive, inappropriate, and committed to listening and doing better, which is really the bare minimum.
How about just thinking for 30 seconds? That's all it would have taken for the guy who switched that event on. Somewhere in that chain, just one of them, to think for 30 seconds about how this looks. I laugh because it's one of the most egregious examples of this, and I think I've looked up the term that it's referred to as pink washing. Have you heard of that before? Pink washing, guys?
It's very similar to concept of lip service to a cause, because
so it's a term used to describe the action of using gay-related issues in positive ways in order to distract attention from negative actions by an organisation, country, or government. So obviously, you have to also bear in mind NetherRealm, Justice. They've had a lot of bad press as well, right, over the last year. A lot of issues with how they've treated their staff. There was a lot of stuff around the when Mortal Kombat 11 came out. A lot of artists who basically were describing PTSD from having to work 12 hours a day on fatalities, and how that level of violence and gore really affected them. And NetherRealm was basically like, if you don't like it, fuck off, find someone else. And there was zero support. And once again, bear in mind, NetherRealm is published by and owned by Warner Brothers, who have also had quite a lot of controversy around certain woman behind Harry Potter, who's not really a fan. They don't love her in the LGBT community, do they? I wonder why. Could it be because she describes trans as monsters and they're not real and stuff like that? Possibly, couldn't it? Could be something to do with that. So once again, another Warner Brothers owned development house and property being really, 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 really tone deaf. Like, guys.
It's an unfortunate sign of how much there is still to do to raise awareness and have people accept people who are just people at the end of the day. But we're
there's been tone deaf, and then there's been just lacking in any modicum of common sense or general thought whatsoever. It's just like, I'm a drone, I'll press a button. Drone button. What the actual?
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
It shows that there is a lot of progress still to be made. Which saddens me, because we shouldn't need to have this sort of progress. We should just accept people for being people, and however they want to be, and however they feel most comfortable.
You know what really bums me out, Rob, is when you look through history and you look back at other societies and cultures through history, and like there were societies and cultures that were so much more advanced at this than we are in 2021. And you're like, think of like ancient Greece. It's like open gay, bisexual relationships, no judgment, everybody was at it, and it was like, guys, how have we regressed It's like that just blows my mind that we've gone.
I have
backwards.
many answers to that question.
Oh, there is.
None of which are suitable for this podcast.
It's a huge issue. I do think we might want to think about doing a current affairs, politics show sometimes, Rob, because we often get into stuff on this, don't we? And it's just like, well, it's not video games, really, is it?
It's because we care about a lot of issues. I think I can speak for all of us here when we are in vast support of the community who have been not necessarily outright attacked here, but have been maligned and overthought here. And it's just, come on, people, do better. We bleed the same blood at the end of the day. Doesn't matter.
Damn straight.
Just be nice to people. Be kind. That's the key thing. But in a more positive thing about Pride Month, you had another story, Ben, didn't you?
Well, I gave it to you, but I'll mention it if you like.
Oh yeah, okay,
I can mention it. The Life is Strange developer, the guys behind Tell Me Why, have made Tell Me Why out for free on Xbox and PC for Pride Month. I've not played Tell Me Why, I will admit, but I believe it does have characters that are from the LGBT community.
I want to say one of their characters is trans. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
So it's a really good thing to have.
I want to say the developer is Don't Nod or Dot Nod or something like that. I'd have to check the story, but I think it's something like that. But Life is Strange as well, obviously, has always had those characters as well in the main character role, and looks like they've got a new one coming out as well soon, and that's also got a character in that area as well, and also being, I think she's like the first lead character from an Asian American descent, or at least there's very few of them. So they're doing what they can for representation as well in the next Life is Strange. And so these guys are very socially aware, culturally sensitive developers. It's always good to see. They're giving away their game for free, all 3 episodes of it on Xbox. I picked that up just to have it in the library. I think it was on Game Pass as well. Give it a go. Support these developers and these issues, and try something different. That might not be your normal kind of game. Give it a go. It's free. Try it. Check it out. I've got another free thing to mention that is not related, as far as I know, to Pride Month, but it's still a very, 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 very good game. One of my favourite city builder / colony builder games, and that is Frostpunk, and that's currently available for free on the Epic Game Store as part of their weekly giveaways. But also, I think they've got a big sale on, so they want to get people eyes on to the sale and stuff like that. So they do this all the time. Though Epic lost leading as they do with their games, pushing these things forwards to get eyes on and into that storefront. They are so aggressive in their promotion. Like, it's a shame that storefront isn't a bit better, because they don't seem to have improved it. You remember when we were all complaining about the usability of the Epic Store like 12-18 months ago? I don't think anything's changed. There's still no community
features. They're putting
all
their money into loss leaders instead of putting their money into sorting out their UI. There are more games to give away for free than fixing their UI issues.
They also bought a mall to turn into an office complex. I don't know how much money is available right now. maybe a bit cash strapped, but plenty of it in the mall. Who knows? I know we're all. I'm going to move on to the next story. We're all comic book fans here, all 3 of us. We all read our comics. We all check stuff out. I was quite surprised though when Rob told me he's never read a Dark Horse comic before.
By Hellboy, I have some collections which I think are collected by Dark Horse. Try and do this without Sterling Arthur. This will be difficult. Yeah, a few of my Avatar collections of the graphic novels, they are published by Dark Horse. But I've never read any Hellboy comics specifically, so I think that's one of their big properties.
So Dark Horse is getting into the games industry. Dark Horse, I think they're calling themselves really, I'm going to say this is the most creative name for a publisher I've seen in a while. It's Dark Horse Games is going to be the name. I know.
I'm astonished.
I know. Are you?
How are anyone going to know that it's them? God.
Well, I mean, it's slightly interesting to me because they're not the first cross-media sort of comics publisher to do this. Do you know Rebellion, Rob?
No.
So Rebellion are the guys behind 2000 AD and that kind of collection of characters, right? Big British comic book, 2000 AD. Judge Dredd, New Earth, Warlock, Nemesis. Like, there's lots of big classic British sci-fi stuff on them. And Rebellion also publish loads of video games. So they've done, for example, the Zombie Army trilogy, the zombie games, the zombie Sniper Elite. They're all there. So they got that comic book connection. So I guess Dark Horse is looking to leverage, from what I was reading here, some of their lesser known IP, maybe that aren't actively being published in a big way, and actually get people kind of to remember and connect again with their famous things. So obviously beyond Hellboy, there are people like Sin City, 300, Umbrella Academy, Lady Killer, Amy the Strange.
300 game.
Exactly.
Sign me up for a 300 game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a close quarters combat, like For Honor, but better.
And maybe not multiplayer. I'd be down for that, definitely. But they've got a really diverse portfolio of what I would call indie comic book creators. Obviously, Hellboy, Mike Mignola, incredibly famous. That art style is iconic, and there have been Hellboy games before. This wouldn't be a new thing. There's been a couple of them in the past, but they've always been a bit average. So maybe Dark Horse can really get into this and show us something new. You know, I hope it's not just like Telltale style, you know, interactive comic books. That would be kind of boring. But like, let's see something pushing these IP in interesting directions.
It would be boring, but I think there'd be a huge audience for that.
Probably, yeah. People do really love that stuff. So
Cool.
I'm just a bit like, it's been done now. Obviously, if you want to check out Hellboy in his most recent video game outing, you can find him as DLC in Injustice 2 by NetherRealm and Warner Brothers, as we were just talking about. However, I perhaps wouldn't recommend doing that this month. Maybe some other time.
No.
Maybe
in July.
Maybe some other time. How about you, Leah? You got any interest in a Dark Horse video game? Any properties from there that you'd be interested in? Obviously, you've read a lot of comics.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I can't remember who else they've done apart from Hellboy and 300, to be honest.
Sin City?
Nah, I never really liked that to begin with. They didn't do Witchblade, did they?
No. That was Image
No.
/ Top Cow.
Yeah. I mean, if it were some sort of Hellboy thing, I'd probably have a look at it, because I do like Hellboy, but I think that's probably the only one I'm going to be interested in.
Fair enough. I think it's time we moved on to our kind of bi-weekly segment now, where we talk about the upcoming Game Pass games. Take us away, Robbie Rob.
So in early June, actually on the 1st of June, so about 5 days ago now, Game Pass Cloud added The Wild at Heart. On the 3rd of June, so a few days ago, we had For Honor come on to Game Pass, battling its way forward for people to actually enjoy it. Then on the 8th of June, on Monday, we have the post-noir adventure Backbone on Xbox Game Pass for PC. On the 10th of June, we have the turn-based RPG Darkest Dungeon hitting PC, console, and cloud.
Great game. Insanely good game.
Yeah, I might give that one a try. So, with E3 briefing on the 13th, we're expecting more announcements, though. So this might not be the rest, or the limit of what we're expecting to see this month hit Game Pass on consoles and PC. Unfortunately, there are always things that do end up having their licenses expire as well. So there are 5 things leaving. We have Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown.
Very good.
Leaving. Nightcall leaving.
Very good.
West of Dead leaving. Wizard of Legend leaving.
Very good.
And Observation. They're all leaving.
Really good
Game
as well.
Pass.
Flipping great games. Like, all of those are really good games, because I'm making an effort to play them again, or for the first time, prior to them leaving. I know, for example, Richard is a massive fan of Observation. I will be talking about West of Dead a little bit later on, because I played that a bunch this week. But Ace Combat, I reviewed that, and that is a very, very, very fun game. If you like the fighter pilot games, you know, flying around, shooting stuff, dogfighting, it is one of the best of those. Like, really, really good. Also, crazy Japanese storytelling. Like, utter insanity. So if you're in the mood for something like that, I highly recommend it. Are you done? Are you done?
Yeah, that's the conclusion of the story. Yeah,
That's fair Game Pass
No,
stuff happening. Oh,
I'm going to get my lap back.
Arthur's getting
He's
himself. No, he's getting up. Right, I'll move on to a slightly weird. This is a weird announcement. This kind of came out of nowhere. They teased, Ubisoft and Watch Dogs teased that there was going to be a new thing coming to Watch Dogs Legion, because it was on their roadmap as a big question mark, like a surprise. And what it is Legion of the Dead, which is a standalone zombies mode that they're plugging into Watch Dogs Legion, and it's out right now in, I'm going to say some big inverted commas, alpha on PC, because
Not an alpha.
It's not an alpha. It's so annoying, Rob. They have taken these terms and they ruined beta, and now they're ruining alpha as well.
They're using alpha as an excuse to say this might be buggy as shit.
Early access, but they can't do early access because the game's already out, I guess, and like released, so they're calling it an alpha. It's like it's not a freaking alpha. Alpha uses like placeholder textures and T-posed characters. If you've even got characters in there that aren't more than rectangular blocks, I mean, for Christ's sake, it's not an alpha. But I am sort of curious about this, like, because it's the representation of London. If I can get 28 days later the video game, which is what this could be in a way. And in co-op, that could be a laugh. Open world London with zombies.
It's the only way I'm interested in Watch Dogs Legion, to be honest. Otherwise, the game would pass me by. But if there was the zombies mode...
Oh, Legion. I mean, Legion, what was it, 2 weeks after release? Like, Immortals, half price, basically, a similar thing like we saw from Immortals Phoenix Rising.
They sorted out their variety of save game corrupting bugs yet?
On Xbox, that killed me. I couldn't touch it for a week. And the problem with that was I had to stay away from it, right? And that meant I lost all impetus in playing it. And I've gone back to it since. And the game is fine. The driving feels good. The shooting feels good. The concept of recruiting all the characters is a fun one. But it's kind of unremarkable. The best thing about it is modern London. Getting to go around and see the places you know from your being in London and stuff. And I know my brother who lives in London, for example, absolutely loved it. He could almost walk down his own street where he lived, and it was so cool. That experience must be very, very cool. However, it's just a bit soulless is the only way to describe it. And I think doubling down on the fun, doubling down on the silly is probably a good way to go for them with this game, instead of trying to do this very oppressive, serious storyline, because holy shit is it dark. I mean, there's one of the factions in the game is this organized crime organization that are just human trafficking, body parts, slavery. Like, it's really heavy, uncomfortable shit. And it's like, I don't know. So go zombies instead. This sounds like a laugh. Bring it on. I want to try this, but I don't have it on PC, so I'll have to wait for the inevitable console release. But
I'm happy to wait for bargain bin and console release for this.
I mean, every time I see it come up, it comes up in sales quite a lot already, and it's cheap. Like, already, this game is cheap. So
I'm bored of zombies. I'm completely bored of zombies. I want werewolves. Werewolves in London would have been amazing.
An American Werewolf in London, perhaps?
Yeah.
Great film. Fantastic movie. Werewolves... like a werewolf epidemic. So I guess you could make that work. Yeah, that's cool. And they'd be different. They could be leaping across buildings and stuff, couldn't they?
That would have been amazing.
Running down streets.
Zombies.
Parkoury.
Like running up the sides of buildings and like jumping around a bit. And werewolves are fun. Yeah. You've got a big story now, Rob. You're going to break all these down.
So we were talking about, I think it was last week, we were talking about Far Cry 6, where the game had released some gameplay footage, and it's all about revolution and is so painfully political.
You've skipped a story. Warhammer Skulls. You've skipped Warhammer Skulls.
Have I skipped a story?
Yeah. You jumped like 3 ahead there. Yeah.
I know how to read. Dedicated.
I was like, I know that was coming up, but you want to carry on with Far Cry and come back to that? I don't mind, but
I've started Far Cry, so I'll continue Far Cry.
I'll finish.
Yeah, basically, I'm doing the guy who hosts Mastermind at this point. I've started, so I shall finish. So we had the gameplay come out, and it looked like a generic Far Cry game. To be honest, it's Ubisoft. It looks generic as crap. But it was painfully political, because it's obviously political. But they turned around and stated, Navid Kavari turned around and stated that it wasn't a political game. He has now clarified these comments where, yes, it is political, but no, it isn't about that politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've turned around and said, we've realised it's a complicated island and our game doesn't want to make a political statement about what's happening in Cuba specifically. He's stressing that Yara is based on guerrilla movements around the world and throughout history, hence its fictional setting.
Interesting,
yes.
Isn't it? I mean that reminds me of something you said to me once when we were discussing 7 Nights in Fallujah. Is it 7 nights, 7 days? Something. The Fallujah game. The Fallujah game. And it was like you were talking about how fictionalizing a setting can make it maybe more palatable to discuss such matters. So I guess that's what they've gone for, because it does obviously have some like Cuban vibe to it from what we've seen of it. But I don't think I never drew that parallel immediately. I thought it was interesting that he had to make it.
I did.
You immediately thought of Cuba. I mean,
immediately. I was amazed it wasn't set on Cuba.
I didn't necessarily think it had to be Cuba. I was because I'm obviously aware that there are many, failed communist / dictatorial states around the planet, and you could see how this could be based on a multitude of them. So I dig it, but I think it was weird that they've had to come out and qualify and clarify all of this. I am glad though, because they've obviously in the past been so careful to avoid really talking about stuff, and I would have been very disappointed with a setting like this if they hadn't actually dealt with some rather important issues head on. And it sounds like they're actually going to. They're just saying it's inspired by rather than a direct representation of a particular one.
They're maintaining that they've attempted to tell a story with action, adventure, and heart, but also isn't afraid to ask hard questions. And they've stated that was mostly a quote directly from some text that they turned around and released in their blog posts. Far Cry is a brand that, in its DNA, seeks to have mature, complex themes balanced with levity and humour.
I was going to say I can't wait to see how they balance this with rocket launcher backpack and pet crocodile.
And what about the CD launching Gatling gun?
Yeah, that. Yeah, what the...
I suppose that's where they get the levity from.
Are we going to try and say this is as political as like the Saints Row games? I.e. not at all. And it's just, at the best you could get with it from is satire. Because... while you could argue there's guerrilla movements and, the small rebel bands fighting against, organised military, that's a real thing. They don't have rocket launcher backpacks and CD firing guns, as far as I know. Anyway, as far as I know.
When they start out, are they more of a chimpanzee movement, and then they go into a gorilla movement later?
Fuck yes. Can you tell him off, Leia?
Not good.
I've been sitting on that one for a while. I'm not going to lie.
It must be uncomfortable to sit on a chimpanzee. Do they throwing poo at you? I mean, what's going on? I don't know what to say about this, other than good that they're not trying to avoid it, but bad considering what else I've seen of the game.
I'm glad they're not going to the still slightly tense, controversial issue of look, it's Cuba, totally Cuba, look, Cuba. I'm glad they're not doing that, but at the same time, they'd have to be morons to not figure out that that's exactly what people are going to pull from these analogies and these references, especially in the States. Especially where these things have been big issues, it's exactly where they're going to get parallel to straight away. So, I don't know.
It was a fairly stupid statement to begin with, saying it's not political. So I'm glad they've cleared that up. But Far Cry games annoy me anyway. So.
What about them annoys you?
They're just stupid.
Okay. I quite like them, but I get bored of them. I've played all of them, including the slightly weird last one, which was set in the US in
that's the one that annoyed me the most.
Which was
was that the one pre-nuke or post-nuke?
Well, they did pre-nuke, but it's the same world. So post, it's all very odd.
Makes me wonder if this one is going to be post-nuked states as well.
No, it won't be. They won't be connected. It's not like 4 is connected to 5 maybe. Or anything like that.
So what? No. If you're going to call something Far Cry 6, it needs to be connected to the previous one.
None of them are. They're thematically connected, but they're not narratively connected.
Then why not give them different subtitles?
Well, they've never done it that way. Like 1's not connected to 2, 2's not connected to 3, and so on. 3's not connected to 4, 4's not 5, 5 won't be 6. They sometimes do the spin-off games and they're connected, but they're the subtitled ones. So that's why we had the spin-off New Dawn connected to 5. But no, that's just not been what they've ever done. So I that's just the nature of the franchise. It's I wouldn't feel the need. I mean, if you're going to do a connection, connect to 3 because that was the best one.
Yes, so that's the one that is actually worth playing with Vars.
Yeah, and then 4 Pagan Members Dahl, and 5 with the weird cult American set Midwest thing was all just very strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, I'm gonna hit a new story, and then Rob can get to the one he jumped over. But basically, if you guys haven't played 2 Point Hospital,
I'll get told off later.
Why are you gonna get told off?
Because I messed up your show notes.
So it's okay. It's okay. I've already forgiven you. I love you, baby. So 2 Point Hospital is an incredibly fun little sort of management game, spiritual successor to Theme Hospital that came out yonks ago on the PC, and it's available. 2 Point Hospital has been out on console and PC, and it's great. It's really, really good. And these guys are coming back with a follow-up. It got leaked on the Xbox store of all places prior to probably an E3 announcement. They accidentally made the store page go live. They got it down quick, but there are people on the internet that are literal ninjas, and they have a backup of all the text and all the screenshots and everything. So I've had a little look at this, and these guys are going to be making 2 Point Campus, so a university set comedic management game. I am down for this. This should be a bundle of laughs with like ridiculous courses and really silly like lectures, and like all that idea should work really well because it's taking that inherently serious concept, hospital, higher education, and then warping it through this really silly kind of comedic satirical lens. So I think that's a really good place for them to go for a sequel. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing what comes out of that, and I want to build my further educational nightmare of a school. I'm going to make Greendale officially. I'm going to make Greendale, and it's going to be amazing. So from Community,
I just saw the massive pizza thing, and that looked exciting. So
anything with a massive pizza is a win, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest. As long as I can have the human beings and the anus flag that they have for Greendale, I will be very, very happy. I hope everybody's seen Community. Otherwise, I know Rob has. So.
Oh, very much. I've seen the good seasons of Community anyway. I've seen it all, but I prefer to remember the good seasons.
There aren't any after season 3, are there? So I think that's where it stops,
seasons.
isn't it? 3 seasons and a movie. That's what they've always said. Yeah, 3 seasons and a movie. But yeah, that's all. There's probably more coming out at E3. But I'm up for that. That looks fun.
Indeed. So now on to my story, which is the one I skipped over, which I'm sure I'll live down eventually. So in the week we had a event, the Warhammer Skulls event.
Was there any warning about this? Because it seemed to come out of nowhere.
A very small amount.
Right, and all of a sudden everybody was talking about like a million new Warhammer games, and I was like, what the hell is this?
Yes.
And there's sales everywhere, and I was like, this is great.
I got a little bit of heads up because I'm part of the Creative Assembly Discord server, so I got a little bit of heads up to expect Blood for the Blood God event coming on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, which is when they were doing a bunch of announcements, which I was very excited about. So I tuned in live, and we had 2 trailers dropped by Creative Assembly, but I did not realise quite the scope of how much stuff actually dropped across the Warhammer spectrum. So Creative Assembly, of course, make Total War Warhammer in their various different numbered iterations. So we had the announcement of the final DLC for Total War Warhammer 2, which is The Silence and the Fury. It's a Lizardman DLC and a Beastman DLC. The Beastmen have also almost become a meme at this point for how much CA have, like, dejected and neglected them in the corner and not dealt with them for years, so that they've become a meme that they're finally reworking, so they'll be bringing it up to current levels, which everyone is very excited for. I'm looking forward to it as well. And then we had the first trailer focusing on the Khorne units for Total Warhammer 3 and confirmed one of the legendary lords that will be part of that, which is a giant slaughter rage monster called Scarbrand, which is going to be amazing fun.
I was going to say, before you go into the other Warhammer games, obviously all the DLC for Total Warhammer 2 and stuff is on sale right now. What this is for me, what is the must buys? What are like the top 2 DLC packs everyone should have, because there's a lot to choose from, and they're all about half off.
It's the race packs really that are the big things. I would say.
Should I get, for example, I was drawn to the Vampire Coast guys.
Yes.
Pirate Vampires looks fun.
Yes, they are a very fun mix, because you've got the power of like some monsters. You've got giant walking cannon firing wrecks of ships that are sentient, but you also have zombies trying to fire muskets and that sort of thing. You know, it's that balance between the vampire counts in the game are very up close and personal. They have very few, if any, missile units. They're all about rushing forward with lots of heroes to support your meat shields. The Vampire Coast function differently because they have more ranged capabilities, which are actually half decent, and big artillery units, so they're more further away, but they still have big amounts of magic backing them up. So they're a different kind of play style. I would probably say as well the Grim versus the Paunch, which reworks the greenskins and adds Grom the Paunch, a very, very fat goblin, whose mechanic is based around searching for ingredients around the world and putting them in his cauldron. It adds different passive buffs to his army.
That's fun.
And stuff like that. And you get basically a police warden for the High Elves who can detain people and indoctrinate them to his side, and you get bonuses for that. It's a very interesting way to play a campaign. And he gets a whole raft of unique units.
Okay.
But all of this is forward compatible with Total War Warhammer 3.
That's kind of why I'm thinking of picking up some sub cheap so I can build out my choices for 3, which I'm inevitably going to pick up.
If it's on sale, buy it. Buy it all.
I looked at that. It was about 90 quid, so I don't think I'm going to buy it all. But
I bought it all full price.
Okay.
I haven't pre-ordered the Silence and the Fury yet, but I will be. That's coming out in July, I think. July, I want to say 7th or 13th, I think. So that's going to be very good. I'm very much looking forward to that. We had GOG adding a raft of Warhammer games to its platform, including Hired Gun, Blood Bowl 1 and 2, Warhammer Quest, Regicide, Adeptus Titanicus, and Dakar Squadron. So they're all for sale now on GOG, which is very good. We had another class for Warhammer Vermintide 2. For the Wood Elf on there, a new class was revealed that people, I think there's a purchase gate in front of that, so you might need to pay for that. I don't know. I haven't played enough of Warhammer Vermintide 2 to be able to make any firm judgment on that one. We've had it revealed that the Vermintide 2 butt-in 40k universe with guns and things, Warhammer 40,000 Darktide, has Dan Abnett as the writer for the story.
Woo!
Which basically means that it's actually going to be a good story.
Yep.
Dan has been writing for the Black Library, which is the book arm of Games Workshop, for years. He's penned some New York Times bestsellers in that time.
Also, more importantly, he wrote the really, 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 really good run on Guardians of the Galaxy back in the day for Marvel.
Yes.
Which I absolutely loved. So
he's written for all over the place, so he's actually a very good writer.
He is.
So having him in charge of story is brilliant. We had a trailer for Warhammer 40,000 Lost Crusade, which is a mobile game launching in the US, which I'm not sure if it is coming to the UK or not. And then we had Blood Bowl 3 having a gameplay reveal as well, which the closed beta is running for that, and that will come out later this year.
I tried to play the Blood Bowl games, never could get into them. But
yeah,
cool idea,
but I couldn't
get into them. I'm kind of bummed out because I was really considering Necromunda Hired Gun, and sadly it sounds like it's a bit of a shit show right now on every platform, including PC. Like really big issues with like frame rates and stability and audio and lots of problems. So I think I'll keep an eye on it. When I've heard that there's been a few patches, I might consider it again, because it sounds like it's very nearly Warhammer's Doom 2016, which sounds like a fucking brilliant combination of things. Yeah, and I want a cyber dog, which is going to be my killer good boy. So I definitely want to play that, but I'm just going to wait for it to get a bit fixed first.
The show ended. I'm just looking at it because I hadn't actually seen this one, because the article just kept going with different things. There was a turn-based strategy game 25 years ago called Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate. We're getting a sequel.
Cool.
A quarter of a century later.
Sure. I mean, look, honestly, there's so many Warhammer games now that it's kind of impossible to keep track of. I've played quite a few of them, and I'd say the general sort of like level of quality is surprisingly high for many of them. Like they're much better than they were 10 years ago. So they're clearly being quite, while there are a lot of them, they are clearly choosing who gets them quite carefully. I mean, obviously there were some good ones. I'm thinking of Space Marine, and I'm thinking of Dawn of War. Right. And Dawn of War is great.
1 and 2.
The Relic developed ones, yeah.
Back on the PS2, Fire Warrior, that was a 40,000 game, or Warhammer 40k game. That was really good fun.
Didn't play that one.
I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. So go on.
I'm excited because Warhammer has always seemed quite impenetrable to me, and now I have someone who can explain it to me, Rob.
Yes, I've been playing this since 2004.
Blimey, that's when I started university, or finish university even.
That was around the end of my first year in high school. I feel young.
Yeah, I always feel old when I talk to Rob. That is inevitable. So I think that brings us to the end of the non-E3 time of year news. So let's move on to the E3 time of year bit. This is getting excited. I'm starting to get excited, guys. I wasn't feeling that hyped a week ago, but now that we've got what I'm going to take us through the schedule, I'm actually getting pretty pumped. So I'm going to just go down, break down the schedule, and I think I'm only going to do BST times because we are UK, and look, this will all be linked in the show notes. If you are in another territory, the times are also in this post as well. But there is kind of more here than I expected. So this is quite exciting. So we're going to start off with the Guerrilla Collective on Saturday, June the 5th, which actually we've missed. Now I think about it, that was yesterday. So
we're doing well, guys.
So that's 4 o'clock. So, but the next one for me is Wednesday, June 9th, right? This is going to be big, which is the new Battlefield reveal. So this is Battlefield 6. There's some leaks out there of what are potentially screenshots from this game. It looks like a near future setting. I am really, really excited about this. This is going to be 3 o'clock on Wednesday, June the 9th. Can't wait to see what's coming out from EA and DICE about this. Obviously, we've talked about how they've been shuffling studios around to make sure they have enough people on this to get it shipped by the end of the year. But a near future, modern tech Battlefield game gets me hyped. I want that. I want that. So that should be really, really good. Following that, we've got the Summer Game Fest Kickoff Live. This is the Jeff Keighley hosted thing. There's going to be lots of indie stuff on there, as well as some big announcements, and this is going to be kind of the beginning of E3, though competing with E3. Summer Game Fest is not an E3 as in the nature of that actual organisation product, but this is kind of where we're at now with this stuff, this decentralised world in which we live, working from home and remote based reveal events, but there's going to be some stuff on there, no doubt about it, and that's on Thursday at 7. Then on Friday, this one I am really excited about, actually. This is Koch Prime Time at 8 o'clock UK time on Friday, June the 11th, and I'm just going to say, we know something you don't know, and I can't say a lot more than that, but I will say it's going to be worth tuning in for, no doubt. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Surprises are happening, and it's exciting. It's exciting. So stuff that you can't expect. Now, in a related news, Koch has come out and confirmed some stuff regarding Deep Silver and what they'll be showing at E3 in regards to things like Metro, Dead Island, Saints Row. And what they've said is that will not be there this year. There will not be that side of their portfolio shown this year. Other things will be shown this year.
Indicative of how excited we are at Experience Kills for what is being shown, but we know something that you don't.
I couldn't confirm or deny that, but I know that they have a website up called We Know Something You Don't Know. It's showing like CCTV footage of a room with some things in it, and stuff's happening. So it's cool. It's cool. Moving on to the next one, Guerrilla Collective Part 2 on Saturday, June the 12th at 4 o'clock. But I'm not too bothered about these things. Let's talk about the big boys. So E3's, Ubisoft E3. So this is an actual E3 thing, and that's 8 o'clock on Saturday. We've already been told, I believe we've been confirmed that certain things are going to be showing there, including Rainbow Six Quarantine and Far Cry 6. So Rainbow Six Quarantine is, the likelihood there is that that's getting renamed, strangely enough.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Probably can't call it that now, guys. So do you guys remember what they showed for that originally? They're kind of the new Rainbow Six game from like 2 years ago.
Everyone sat at home in their own houses, not allowed to mix with their neighbours.
So it was about a viral outbreak and like mutating people, and I have to wonder if they've had to retool that entirely, and they've come up with an entirely new concept for this game, because it worked just prior to COVID, but now probably a
little bit tone deaf.
Probably, well, yeah, they've taken notes from NetherRealm and Warner Brothers. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that might be an entirely new thing now. But there's going to be updates as well on For Honor, The Crew, Watch Dogs Legion, and its expansion that's coming, Bloodline, which I've already paid for because I'm an idiot. Stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises out of Ubisoft. I think it's going to be what we expect, which is Far Cry, updates on Assassin's Creed as well will be in there, that kind of stuff. But I don't think there's going to be
DLC confirmation, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get big announcements like surprises. What do you guys think?
I agree.
I wish there was going to be, though. It'd be ever so exciting.
Brand new IP that they just throw out there that they've been working on during lockdown and stuff, and have curated a new world and system and fun. But no, it will just be the same stuff over again. Starting to see why Richard isn't a fan of Ubisoft.
Amongst other things, yeah.
What we'll probably get some good reveals and exciting things from is what happens on Sunday, June the 13th, though.
Yes, at 6 o'clock, the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. This is the big one.
This is what I'm waiting for.
Could be.
That I'm probably going to watch with my dinner and just eat and watch trailers. I think that's what I'm going to be doing.
So we've got, again, in related news, we've already seen some sort of, I don't know if it's I don't think it was leaked, but there've been some key art has been found for Halo Infinite, which does not include the Master Chief. We've got what looks like one of the guys out of Reach in this artwork. Have you had a look at this
Neil.
one? Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the coolest one out of the entire Noble team and got shot.
I think what this means is we are going to get a multiplayer gameplay reveal of Infinite, and I don't think they're going to touch on single player, because I don't think that's ready for them to show yet. So I think they've got a bunch of work done in multiplayer. They're going to want to lay the cards out on the table of what they see as the competitive esports future of Halo, and that's what this is going to focus on.
Why do games need competitive esports futures?
Because it's Halo, and it was one of the first to do it, and I think they want in on that. They want back into that market. And I loved competitive Halo back in the days of like Halo 2. That was some of the best multiplayer going. That was incredible. Because it's what I always liked about Halo is that the time to kill, the TTK, is a lot longer than like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield. So you have a chance to have these really tight and tense like back and forths with an opponent, which is usually when the map is designed well. What often happens is even in like 4v4 6v6 situations, the combat will often break down to a 1v1. So you're facing off against the opponent. And then it's about that chess game of what gun have they brought to the battle? What gun are you bringing? What strategy are you going to employ? How are you going to grab that power up? When are you going to duck in and out of the combat? How are you going to try and kite them and force them into a corner and stuff like that? And I actually think because the TTK is longer in Halo, you get for much more interesting experiences. Obviously less realistic, as if any of these games were realistic, but still way more enjoyable, you know? So I love some competitive Halo. Like, really, really good fun.
Fair enough. I always found in the more modern Halos that they were reducing the TTK, that it just ended up being even shorter and almost COD-like.
And yes, they did. And it definitely got shorter, yeah. I'm going back to Halo 2 here when I played it
when they
the
were
most. Good. Yeah, so hopefully, though, you know, we don't know with Halo Infinite, do we? We don't know where they're going to go with it. So
unknown quantity for now.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big blowout of the multiplayer, of the kind of maps and the suite. And, you know, are we going to get Forge? Are we going to get loads of variable game types? What we didn't get? Do you remember what was it called? The crazy one in Halo 5 with the almost battle royale size maps, Warzone or something, or Warfight?
I don't know. I never played it.
You didn't play Halo 5?
I played the campaign in Halo 5, and it made me want to not play Halo.
Oh Jesus! Okay, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was a bit boring with Locke, but. I mean,
yeah.
Still
it was one of the few Halo games I've completed solo on Legendary because I had AIs helping me, and you can skip the final boss. So yeah, I managed that rather well. The art for it.
Suppose you did.
On my console was my background.
Okay.
Never been very good at Halo. I always like the story, and I can appreciate that, especially in Halo 2, the maps. The multiplayer were good, but I'm just not quick enough myself. So
I prefer things with a longer TTK, like Destiny. So
also
not getting shotgunned in the face.
Also on Sunday, June the 13th at 8:15, we have Square Enix Presents, which will probably be. It's probably going to be Final Fantasy, isn't it? As it was, you know, it was teased last year at E3, which was the new Final Fantasy game. So I suspect we'll get some more of that. Obviously, there are also people like Marvel Avengers, aren't they? So we might get some future slate of DLC for that. We might see more Black Panther, that kind of thing.
PlayStation finally going to get Spider-Man, which has been waiting since release, and they've still not got it as their exclusive DLC yet.
Yeah. I don't even know what to. Yeah. We have then a couple of to be confirmed times for the PC Gaming Show and the Future Game Show. They're both due on Sunday as well. The Nintendo Direct from E3, which is going to be on Tuesday, June the 15th at 5 o'clock. I guess you guys are excited for Pokemon stuff and things like that.
Pokemon does its own streams. The Pokemon Company will end up doing a Pokemon Direct and stuff like that. I'm not certain we'll get much Pokemon news out of E3. We rarely do.
Breath of the Wild sequel then? I guess.
Okay.
Not bothered?
I'm not bothered about that.
More Splatoon, probably. Splatoon 3, Breath of the Wild 2. What else? Maybe a Metroid showing after it being absent last year. I'm not particularly excited about any of these things. It's just it's what people in Nintendo get excited for.
It would be exciting for Breath of the Wild fans to have Breath of the Wild 2 shown more, and I'll be excited on their behalf. I think we have a friend that we work with that would be very excited about that. And he'll probably be all over the Nintendo showcase, but I would be surprised if we see anything Pokemon related from that. So I will wait for the Pokemon Company to do their thing.
I'm just scrolling through now some of the other stuff here. I mean, so that kind of takes us to the end of it, because EA Play isn't until July. So EA aren't showing anything until next month. So, I mean, you know, well, that'll be what it'll be, but it won't be Battlefield, because we're getting a Battlefield reveal specifically. But, you know, EA Play is going to be next month, and I'll keep an eye on that as well. It's always good to see what they're doing with, say, Star Wars and stuff like that. But it's interesting now that Star Wars is obviously not exclusive to them. So I'm far more interested. Do we get at Ubisoft the Star Wars open world game based on the Division's massive engine? That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
I want Bounty Hunter 1313 to come back.
It's not going to come back. It's gone. Like Scalebound, it's dead, Rob. Move on. Move on.
No, I won't.
It's dead.
I will live in the past, god damn you, and you can't stop me.
It's dead. Those resources have been deleted. They no longer exist.
I bet they haven't.
I bet they have. LucasArts was dissolved. EA's lost Star Wars exclusivity. They control or deleted that shit. That's gone, brother. That's gone. He's in a box.
I have cat in box. That is all that's important.
So in related news, 2K. I don't think 2K has its own showing. At least it's not on the list we just went through. But we have had some interesting leaks as to what 2K is going to be showing at E3 this year.
Do tell.
So they've all got code names, but we kind of found out a bit about what they are. So codename Daffodil is going to be a Borderlands spin-off featuring Tiny Tina. And it might actually end up being called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. And what they're saying is going to be in the same style as the main Borderlands game, i.e. first-person shooter. But a Tiny Tina spin-off. Does that excite you, Rob? It does not excite me, but I thought it might excite you.
It could be interesting if we end up following Tina, Mordecai, and Brick from Borderlands 3 as they go around doing their own thing, because they're a little trio that get introduced. That could be quite interesting. But I don't know whether I want to put up with a game of Tiny Tina. Her appearing for a few zany moments of insanity is fine, but her being a 40 to 60 hour level up thing like Borderlands 3... Okay. Dubious. But could be interesting. More Borderlands content, which I'm always a fan of, so...
Also, I'm just reading here, by the way, that Monday the 14th of June will feature a presentation from Take-Two Interactive, who owns 2K. So they are doing their own show. What can I tell you? This is the problem with this decentralized, everyone's doing their own thing E3 season. It's really hard to actually keep track of who's doing what on what days at what times, because it's not one central organization like it used to be, who would post their plan for the what do they call them, press briefings or the game conferences, and you'd know about them weeks in advance, and you'd be able to plan and know what was going on because they had to, because they're physical events. Now we've got, we'll chuck up a stream. Yeah, we'll chuck up a stream, probably, maybe we'll tell you about it. Like we'll just have them with the skulls thing. We'll tell you about it 2 days ahead, and chuck it up, no worries. It's like, good luck knowing what's going on.
That's like we need some sort of centralised organisation that manages this and creates it as a curated list of events, Ben.
Well, yeah, that's what I think. I think the weird thing is, so that's being less relevant, fine. But why do they feel the need to all then do all this shit at the same time? Like it wasn't gone. Like it's still a thing. Like, why are they all doing it in this, You're just stealing each other's news cycle.
They're not all doing it.
What do you mean they're not doing it?
Where's Sony on that list?
Yeah, Sony hasn't got a thing. Not a big cumulative thing. But they've not been at E3 for a few years. So yeah, EA hasn't been there either for a while. They predate COVID's departure. They've had their own thing. But they've got it right. They're doing it a month later. That's smart. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to all the others to crowd around a 4-day window across the 13th of that weekend.
People are too used to it.
It's weird though, isn't it? It's weird, and you just lose each other.
Creatures of habit.
Yeah, but
We're creatures of habit that do the same thing. It's why I go to the same supermarket to buy the same lunch every day.
I don't do that. All right.
It's
not everybody does that.
It's what we are. We conglomerate around these areas because that's how we've always done it.
Yeah, but
so
I think
they're scared of doing something different.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Rob, I mean, they're businesses. This is bad business. Right, so if you're a corporation, right, they should be thinking about, how do I dominate 2 weeks of the news cycle talking about my big announcement, and that's what surprises me about this. It's because
it will do
it will
exactly what you're saying
time,
and start spreading, but people are too going. But it's the first year without E3. We can't not E3.
It's not the first year.
Well, second year without E3. You know what I mean?
Well,
yes,
yeah, kinda. I mean, but it's not been what it was for a while. And EA's been out of it for a while. Sony's been out of it. Konami don't do it anymore.
E3 itself
Nintendo
has existed
haven't done it for
up
ages.
until 2020, though.
Yeah, I mean, 19 was weird, though, because there was no Sony, there was no Nintendo, there was no EA, there was no Activision. It's so strange now. But, I mean, so let's talk about some more of these code names, because there's one here there's a couple here that sound really exciting. So, codename Coda is going to be a Marvel-themed XCOM-style game. You just talked over me. It's an XCOM-style Marvel game. What do you think about that?
It's a Coda name.
Shut up. What do you think about that?
Depends entirely on what franchise they're using within the Marvel umbrella. That depends on how excited I am for it.
Yeah. So what do you mean? What do you mean franchise?
Are they doing Avengers? Are they doing Guardians of the Galaxy? Are they doing Fantastic Four? Are they going to try and cram Spider-Man down our throats again? You know, it depends how they're executing it, or whether they're just going to do a new Marvel story, ignoring anything in the MCU, ignoring any other games that are out there. It's their own thing, their own narrative, ignoring the comics, and doing their own thing. It could be interesting.
I get the impression it won't be related to the MCU because they don't really do that, the games, do they? But look how well Marvel's Avengers went down when they did that. I'm hoping for like an almost Ultimate Alliance style roster, like a big roster to choose from.
I love those games.
I think that's, if you're going to do XCOM, doesn't that make sense, right? So you go around, you recruit loads of different heroes, and then you choose which ones go into the fights with you. The only thing for me is XCOM is like turn-based, which isn't the most exciting combat when you're, say, dealing with characters that you know in the Marvel universe. Like, I'm really curious as to how they're going to make that compelling. But the fact is that it is Firaxis supposedly making this, right? So this is, we were talking about this, weren't we? We were talking about this last week. What have Firaxis been doing, right? So
Yes, apparently.
Seems like it's this. So this is quite, this is pretty exciting. I'm really curious to see what this could be.
Do you know what? The Marvel comic storyline that could work rather nicely is the Battle World, I think it is, where Doom remade, or Doom and Molecule Man remade reality, and like I think it was 30 heroes and like Mr. Fantastic that came from the Prime world, and yeah, they had to come through. That could be an interesting.
Weird. I remember that.
It'd be really weird, but it'll be a really interesting way to tell a completely different story. There's enough source material out there. There's some amazing moments, like Black Panther wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. You know,
while I agree with everything you just said, they ain't going to do that in a million years. But
Why not?
Sounds fun. It's way too obscure as source material, way too complicated and weird. They'll do something basic. Hydra showing up with people or something. You know, it's
Why
not.
do something dangerous and risky and different that could be fun?
They won't. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem when you're dealing with a license, and you're look at the reason why we've had so many difficulties with Star Wars games. Is that they can't take risks. It has to be someone with a lightsaber most of the time. You know, it's like so it always has to be the thing, the obvious thing, because they're trying to sell to the masses and not just do fun, do good. Yeah. For me and you on the inside, like knowing those Marvel, that does sound mad and brilliant, but yeah, that would bake too many noodles, I think. And the final codename, the one that we know the least about, but I'm the most excited about, codename Vault, and it's a new action early game that's in early development, and it's been described as Cthulhu meets Saints Row, and is rumored to be developed by Hangar 13, the guys behind Mafia 3. Which is a really good open world game. Actually, I really like Mafia 3. That sounds... I don't know what that is. But I am excited to find out.
Game about Cthulhu crossed with Saints Row. I mean, come on, Ben.
What the fudge is that? Like, I can't even... What is that?
Is that going to be like Victorian gangsters against monsters or something? That sounds kind of cool.
I'd actually quite like to see a modern day Cthulhu set sort of thing. I think that's like, obviously Cthulhu stuff is always set like Sinking City. So they did that, right? Which is it's a decent game, Sinking City. Obviously with all the drama around that's now, but that's semi-open world, you know, period set, Lovecraftian. I'd like to see some modern Lovecraftian stuff. Like, why not? Let's see what that looks like. Just because different, you know, like we were talking about, that would be different, wouldn't it? But yeah, the idea of, I'm just picturing in my head, right, open world city, and you look up and you see Cthulhu towering over it, like Godzilla style. I mean, how freaking awesome would that be? Like, I don't know what that means in gameplay terms, but the visual is quite compelling, isn't it? So,
yes.
Who knows?
We shall have to see. It's interesting. Hopefully we get more than a teaser. If it's like a proper trailer, we get.
I want to see gameplay, baby. Show me some gameplay. But yeah, early development makes me think it's years out.
Early development means no gameplay.
Usually.
2023, 2024, I reckon.
So what are we most? I mean, what are we really hyped for? Like, this is so the next podcast we do will be June 13, right? Which is going to be the one where we're going to do it after. We're going to do it late Sunday, aren't we? Like probably after. If we do it after Square Enix, it's going to be really fucking late. But we'll see how we're going to do this. We'll have to look at that. But we're going to do something once we start to get these announcements next week and stuff. So last chance for predictions and hype. What are we really looking forward to?
You go, Leia.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm excited for Xbox and Bethesda because I want to see if they're going to do Starfield and I want to see if they're going to do anything Elder Scrollsy. That's what I'm excited about. And then I'm excited about EA, but that's later.
Why are you excited about EA?
Dragon Age.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And Mass Effect.
Of course.
Have you heard of Mass Effect, Ben?
I feel like I've come across it once or
Played any other
twice.
game? Yeah.
Once or twice, may have heard of it. Yeah.
For me, it's the Xbox panel. That's really what I am caring about mostly. I'll keep my eyes out for Pokemon Direct or a Nintendo Direct focused on Pokemon around, but I'm not expecting much more news on that one for a while because we've had the big news that Diamond and Pearl are getting remakes and The Legend of Arceus next year. You know, we've had what I would expect from an E3 months ago. So I reckon it's going to be other things for Nintendo this year. But yeah, give me the Xbox showcase. That's the one I'm going to be interested in.
I'm definitely hyped for that. I mean, I would have been hyped for We Know Something You Don't Know. And I'm hyped for everyone else. Because I think you should be hyped for that. God, I hate this. But yeah, be hyped for that. Be hyped for that. I'm so bad at this, but yeah, I really hate not being able to talk about stuff.
We're not hyped for it because on XPK, that we know something that you don't. So we're just excited. We're not hyped for something because hype is something that's coming in the future. I think that's a good way to explain around it. Is that right?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Xbox, Fable, Perfect Dark, any of that coming out, Starfield. I'd like a new Wolfenstein announcement from Machine Head Games.
It's just a wish list now.
Yeah, basically. I've said Fable, but yeah,
I know, but I'm saying it again.
I think we're going to get to see Forza. I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah,
I think Forza's going to. Well, the reports are indicating that this leap to this engine is huge. Like the improvement is ridiculous from what I've heard, from what I've been reading.
Is it bad? I'm kind of hoping for some Series X exclusive games.
We're going to get there. I think you're going to start hearing about this term Gen 9. And I think you're going to hear a lot more about Gen 9 or developed for Gen 9, which means Xbox Series X and PS5. And I think that is going to start coming up because we're going to be seeing games 2-3 years out, right? So potentially, so that those will have to be Gen 9. And I do think that's on the slate. I really hope we get to see this XCOM Marvel game. I hope it's like Alliance-y and awesome. I would also like to see a new Civ, what the plans are for that, but I think we might be a bit too early on that. I think it's going to be a really interesting year. This week and a bit has now become way more crowded than it was even last week when we last did the show, and it's all of a sudden now so much stuff is getting plugged in by so many different developers and publishers, and like we just did that Warhammer event that literally came out of nowhere, like just here's a whole shitload of Warhammer announcements. And this is the weird, it's really strange now because I remember how structured this week used to be for me, and I'd take time off work and I would stay up until 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. And looking at most of these conferences now, they're actually at UK friendly times because they know they want to get as many people watching on the streams as possible, so they cover all the time zones as best as they can. But back then it was like a physical event, so it was 2 in the morning often for those conferences or whatever, or 3 in the morning, and I'd be staying up basically Saturday through Tuesday, 2 a.m. every night, and it's a totally different beast now, and it's so strange, but it's still exciting. I can't not get excited, so it's gonna be good. It's going to be good. So on the next podcast, we will be talking about what we've actually seen. Expect that whole podcast to basically be about E3.
Yeah,
we're gonna dive real deep. Right then, let's talk about the games we've been playing, because we've all played some games we hadn't actually played before. After our focused 2 weeks on Mass Effect, all three of us have been able to step away and play some other games, which is quite nice.
God, that felt good.
I bet it did. I know it did for me. I was like, oh, I should be playing. Oh no, I don't have to play Mass Effect anymore. I mean, I want to, but I don't have to. It's great. It's a good
They're amazing games, don't get me wrong, but fuck me was I happy to actually pick up my controller and play something else and not worry about time pressure or anything like that. I was like, I can just chill on Destiny. Lovely.
So what did you play?
I unsurprisingly played Destiny. I lasted all of 2 days before picking Destiny up again. And I also gave Maneater a try because it came to Game Pass. Which is good. It is a good game. I want to go back to it, but I've kind of hit a very steep part of the progression curve. Which is a thing. I need to get to level 8, I think, and then it speeds up again. But I've basically hit a slow portion right now at level 5, so I just need to keep plodding on. But Destiny and raiding with a clan has snarled me up. So
shout out to the Darkness Touch Me.
Show
me where on this diagram.
I did raid with them on Friday night. Did Vault of Glass for the first time, which is good. Got a couple of bits. I didn't get the Vex Mythoclast. I was sad. But I'll wait for it to reset, and I want to run it again next week and stuff like that.
So, you have to wait a week before you play it again?
You only get a loop once, I believe.
That is...
Once a week.
So, talking to the guys in the clan, did anybody get the Mythoclast first time?
I think it wasn't their first time running this, not by a long
Not
shot.
this time, but did anybody do it first time? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I didn't ask.
How lucky would that be? Christ.
Yeah. They're all like 1320s, and I was sat there at 1304 being, hi, please include me.
Please protect me and pull me along and tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
How different was it? I haven't done it yet. How different was it to what you remember?
Different enough. It's some mechanical differences. So, like in the Templar area where you dealt with the oracles in Destiny 1, you just had oracles going. In Destiny 2, you have oracles and adds to balance. So that can prove a little tricky. I was just on ad clear duty. So I was just murdering things, which suits me fine. That's where I prefer to be doing role-wise in Destiny. In raids is ad clear where possible. I was running my Well of Radiance as a warlock, so I jumped into in the Atheon fight. I was providing buff and heals for people and damage boosts, which was good. They've changed the Atheon encounter a little bit, how oracles spawn there. Instead of people choosing to go through portals, you randomly get teleported. So there is no, you can just sit out and not contribute. You have to be aware of the mechanics. You have to be able to contribute, at least in some way, to shoot the right thing.
Okay, that's cool.
And encourages communication, because that was the thing in Destiny 1, a lot of the raids, where you could get one or two people who knew what they were doing, and they could do it all, you just killed stuff. But they've got much better at that, including the entire raid party in contributing. So I had many runs where I wasn't teleported at all, and just stayed and cleared ads outside while one person outside did the call-outs for the people in the alternate time streams and stuff like that. And yeah, it went very well.
So I also went back to Destiny 2 and caught up on the weekly contents, which I feel like they do that better now than they have ever done before. So if you haven't logged in for 4 weeks, you don't just miss out. You can just catch up. You can just, it's already there, queues it up for you, and you can just, in a couple of hours, it took me not long at all. I actually felt like the weekly stuff is considerably quicker so far this season than it was last season, just because you don't even have to always do the event, which is the most time consuming bit. But now I've noticed now everybody's pretty damn quick at that, so it has got a bit more efficient, and I'm enjoying it more as I got into the story. The tension between whatever her name is from the Future War Cult,
Lakshmi 2,
thank you, and the Elixni / Fallen is really interesting, and I feel like we're heading towards a civil war, and it's going to be brutal whatever happens, I think. And obviously there was a leak of that sort of artwork for the story from week 4, but I really enjoyed that perspective on Saint 14 from the eyes of the Elixni. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, he's the demon that comes in the night and murders you. He's not the hero.
This is some of the best, like last season and this season storytelling is really good. Like they are doing a really good job of finally bringing easy to follow narrative to Destiny that's compelling and interesting and is flipping things on its head. Like it's really making you consider that universe from a different point of view, and I'm enjoying that. You know, the start of this season didn't grab me, but where it's now getting to with week 4, I was like, ooh, I'm now kind of hooked. I want to see where this goes. So
there's actually a theory going around at the moment on one of the lore tabs on a returning sword called Crown Splitter for the Titans. You have Arak Jalal, Lakshmi 2, and the guy from New Monarchy, who I can't remember the name of. The 3 faction leaders. They're having a walk around the old city, and they basically are going, do we just overthrow the Vanguard? They're not running the city properly anymore. They're not doing this right. They're not looking out for the people.
I do feel like we're heading towards some kind of internal conflict. Yes, I do feel like that's where the story is building at the moment. I don't think it will be in this year's content. I think it will be maybe next year's content. But I'm digging it. It's changing. It's changing things in interesting ways.
See, I wonder whether this is build up to next season.
No, I
think next season we were meant to get Savathun in the Rise of the Witch Queen, but that was pushed to Q1 next year. So I'm reckoning maybe a human faction civil war might be next season.
Maybe. I feel like we had last season to focus on Zavala, this season to focus on Ikora. Obviously, we don't have a proper Hunter Vanguard, but maybe next season focuses on the reveal of the Crow and who he is publicly to everyone, and how that causes even more problems. And I think maybe that does lead to either more tensions or straight up conflict, but I feel like that is so huge. So did you see the talk around the image that was shown this week? So to do with, I forget, it's old Chicago or something, or old...
Oh yes, where in their TWAB, where this week at Bungie they showed
TWAB?
TWAB, that's what they call it, yeah, or TWAB. It's their Bungie weekly blog.
Yeah.
They showed an image that is from Rise of the Witch Queen. But yeah, people are trying to theorise where we're actually going to go in that, because we'll get a new playable space like we did with... I forgot, Beyond Light?
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah, Beyond Light and Europa. I forgot every name.
Well, wouldn't it make sense for the playable space to be on Earth if the thrust of the story is a civil war? Wouldn't that make sense? So that's kind of where it's connecting. I think they're building to that as next year's big old drop. So that's cool, man. That's different. It's interesting because it's obviously they're drawing out the full darkness reveal a bit longer, but I think you bring that in because one of the tension points, of course, is the Fallen helped guide the Guardian to finding a darkness power and is therefore corrupting them, and it's like all of that I think is really interesting. You know, it's a great way of explaining some gameplay mechanics and actually setting everything inside of the lore. They're doing a good job at the minute. I'm excited.
They're seeding hints at Savathun all the way through as well. This Witch Queen, people and characters have been singing in her tune. Lakshmi as well has been singing her song.
I feel like those guys are going to be the bad guys, and they're corrupted, like they're being led in this direction. Yes,
Savathun is pushing people into their extreme views and just pushing the right pressure points on the right people at the right time to further their agenda.
It's interesting you're talking about this really positively. I'm not talking about the armor transmog anymore. I don't care. I've already kind of moved on. I
tuned it out. I don't care. I don't interact with that at all.
No, it's like I've got all that synth stuff. I've got a bunch already, and I'm not using it. I just don't give a.
And I think a large portion of the player base are going to be doing exactly that. They're just not going to care. It's too inaccessible, too problematic, and there's just been no uptake on it.
I do, however, really like what they've done with shaders. I think it's really cool now that I can customize my look without having to like worry about quantity. Like I'm not going to have enough to pull off what I want to pull off. Now I can just all of it's one color or whatever I want to do, and it's like finally having that freedom to do that is really nice. Actually, I really like that.
When you play this afternoon, you're just going to spend 2 hours picking out.
No, I've already got a really nice day glow pink outfit, which I think
was that your Wednesday evening. That was just you spending your entire time going, ooh, fashion!
I do spend quite a while mixing up armor and colours and gun colours, and I colour my guns. Most people don't do that, but I actually put shaders on my guns as well, and I do all of that. I love it. I love playing dress up.
They're actually running a fashion event in Destiny at the moment, so that you should actually read the Bungie Weekly blog.
What do you mean they're running a fashion event? Or like you can get
looking character
really
win an award? Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I look good. I went for gaudy with my current look. I'm just like hurt your eyes, pink and blue.
I don't want to play Destiny with you this afternoon anymore.
I've got a few other little bits I want to touch on, but Leia, talk to us about Subnautica Below Zero, because I know you were really looking forward to getting into this after Mass Effect as well.
Subnautica was brilliant, and I've been waiting for this one to come up for ages. It's this really weird mixture of this serene, beautiful thing that could murder you at any minute. It's brilliant. It's like you're floating along, going along, picking up minerals and doing what your thing needs to do to like progress the story and build your base building. Love it. And then someone could just come and eat you the next second. It's brilliant. I love it.
I saw some visuals of it yesterday, and it is a step above what it was before. It looks gorgeous. Like it's one of the most inviting visually survival games. Like so was the previous one. It's something about that. It's so serene, like you said, and pretty and stuff. But then there is danger everywhere, and you do have to feed yourself and make sure you've got water and oxygen and stuff like that. But the way it does it feels very much at your own pace. It doesn't feel like high pressure, which so many of them do. Which I guess lovely.
It's for people who don't know. It's a survival game that's based on a water world. So you're 90% of the time underwater. So you're swimming about, and it's kind of limited by your technology. So you can only go to a certain depth before your oxygen is less efficient than it was before. But you get upgrades and you get ships and whatnot. But you just you're going down these little gullies to get your titanium and whatnot, and you just I heard the music change, what's coming now? And there's this massive crocodile thing going across you, and you're going, holy shit, that's big, I'm gonna hide down here for a minute. And
this is my new home now. I live here.
But you're running out of oxygen, so you can't stay there too long.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you have to go back up to the surface to get oxygen and then come back down again. But it is this addictive mixture of exploration, survival, being totally chill, and having the crap scared out of you every so often. I love it.
So what's different about Below Zero?
I think it's a different story. So you go back to the same planet, but you're a different character, and there's actually a bit more story now. It's you're in the polar regions, so you're not in the same area that you were in the original Subnautica. Yeah, and you kind of crash land, but you've gone there on purpose this time because your sister has died on this planet, and the company Altera, which is kind of almost like a cheerier version of the company from Aliens.
I was going to say, are they like Wayland Yutani? They are.
I was thinking Wayland Yutani.
It does sound like that when you're describing them, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they said your sister has died from negligence, but you get a letter that says basically, nah, didn't happen, love. So you go down and you kind of go under the cover of a meteor storm, and your landing does not quite go as expected because you land on this kind of like frozen wasteland, and your temperature starts going down straight away. So you have to find water to get into it so you don't freeze to death. But when you're in the water, you have to come up for air and whatnot, and then you have to find your like little survival pod and whatnot, and then build from there. It's just brilliant. I love it so much.
And you're going to maybe do a video for us?
Yeah, I will do.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Look forward to that. So talking of videos we've done, I put up slightly different type of video called for the Magnificent Truffle Pig. So I did a scripted review. Normally on Experience Kills we're all about having these like chats and stuff, and I thought, we'll try something new. Everybody's busy and often we'll play games that nobody else is interested in. It's quite difficult for me, for example, to get people to want to talk to me about Formula 1, which will be happening next month.
God. I'm busy.
Yeah, I thought you might be. I had a feeling you might be. But no, that video is up. It's like less than 4 minutes long, but in which I described the Magnificent Truffle Pigs, which is this new walking type simulator game in which you go around doing metal detecting, and throughout the process of this, you have the interaction between Adam and Beth, which are the two characters, the only characters in this game, and that's all done via like chats over radio and stuff like that. And then when you have your lunch break and have your sandwiches and Jaffa cakes, they talk to each other then, but you never actually see them, which I think is interesting. You only ever hear them. The visuals are always like abstracted, like from outside the car or from the first person perspective of Adam while you're doing the metal detecting, but that actually does lead into the narrative, and there is a reason for that, and that is explained towards the end of the game. But I'm not going to give any spoilers. I will say this game is infinitely charming. It's beautiful looking, and if you're in the mood for a bit of a palate cleanser, 2 hours, 2 to 3 hour long game, just a different relaxed experience. What I love about games like this is it shows me, the breadth of different types of video game experiences that are now available to us. Everything from hectic first-person shooters, third-person open-world games to these little narrative-focused, do in an evening walking simulator games. And I've always loved a good walking simulator ever since Dear Esther and Gone Home and those types. And this is very much in that vein. It's not going to be for everyone, don't get me wrong. Some people hate these types of games, and I totally appreciate why you would. There's very little game in a game like this. But I really enjoyed finding out about Adam and Beth. It's a very, very humanistic story. There's a lot you can relate to in this. I think everybody would have something to relate to in this type of story. And yeah, it's quite touching, and I do think it's worth checking out. So if you want a few more minutes on that, I guess, though I basically said it all there is a video on this on the channel as well, so do check that out. But yeah, that was cool. And then I checked out West of Dead as well, because it's leaving Game Pass and I hadn't played it yet, and this is a run based sort of, it's not really Metroidvania, but it's a run based kind of in the same vein as like a Binding of Isaac or a Hades game, set in this kind of, we were talking about Hellboy earlier. It's got a Mike Mignola vibe to the art style here, because it does a lot with playing with shadow, which is what he does in that. So lots of darkness, but also you're quite a fun kind of flaming headed character. You're some kind of stuck in purgatory, Western era, lots of weird different types of guns. There's a really good cover mechanic to this. I had really good fun with this actually, and I do say, these games are due to leave in like the middle of the month, so you got about a week or so left, and I would say it's worth taking a look at, just because it is really well put together. It's got some really nice mechanics to it that feel a bit different. It does have a lot of the tropes you'd expect from these run-based games: the shopkeeper, the currency that continues over, the currency that you lose when you die, all the things you'd expect from these types of games. But it's interesting because it's got a different look to it and a slightly different sort of perspective. It's not quite isometric and it's not quite third person, but it is fixed camera, so it's quite interesting how it looks, and the enemy design and the combat encounters are good. Like I said, it kind of heavily relies on a cover mechanic, to the point where some weapons, for example, get boosts to the damage if you fire them from cover, which is really interesting. I didn't find it, as these games go, it wasn't super hard. Like even on my second run, I was through to like the third or fourth world. So I was like, once I had a handle on how the mechanics played and interacted, it wasn't doing a huge amount of things new, but what it did do, it did solidly. So it's definitely worth checking out while it's on Game Pass, because you don't have long. So give it a look. Yes. Anything else anybody else wanted to throw out there?
No, that's all I've been playing this week.
No.
And today.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play some more Destiny, because that's the Taskmaster. Though saying that, I think I might play some more games and stuff that I've got to look at and do some more of these reviews, these quick little reviews. People seem to be enjoying them. The feedback has been good. So we do some more of those on the channel as well. But let me just say, welcome to the main show, Leia. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been fun.
It's been fun. I mean, you didn't have a lot of opportunity to say much because we had so much to go through, and I am sorry about that. There was a lot of news. A lot of news.
There was, but I'm excited because now Rob can explain Warhammer to me and E3. So,
yes.
All good.
Maybe
Coming soon, the Experience Kills Warhammer show.
Well, I suspect, I don't know what Richard's availability is going to be like next week and stuff, especially if we're doing a weird time for the show. So we'll probably have you back next week as well to talk about what we see at E3, and hopefully we're going to all have things that have got us really excited. That's what I hope. That's what everybody's hope should be for E3. Things that will excite you, make you want to play games, look forward to the next 2 years of releases, you know? So that's...
My goal is to go a lot.
You did that when Fable was shown last year, didn't you? I remember that.
Oh yeah.
And you did it, even though it was literally just a title card. Like there was
don't care.
Almost
it's
nothing.
Fable. I'm just.
Else.
I'm going to say now. I'm really hopeful because obviously it's not quite Lionhead. Or that I'm just. It better be bloody Fable.
Yeah, but you say it. But look at Fable 3 was Lionhead, and that was kind of crap. So.
It was still Fable though. You can still kick chickens if you want to.
You have to sit and squat and concentrate to gather up your currency.
Yeah.
It drove me mad. I gave up. It's so game flow breaking.
I'm not denying Fable 2 was the best, but I still enjoyed Fable 3.
Cool. So until next week, that has been another episode of Experience Kills, episode 33. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. You can find me at DIYE on Twitter. You can find Rob at Homeless Mr. Gibbs on Twitter, and Leah sensibly forgoes the tweet sphere entirely. You can find us collectively at Experience Kills. Please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. It does mean the world to us. That's all we ask for. No Patreons, no other weird pay gating. I don't put any advertising on there, so just give us a like and subscribe. That's it. If you don't have time to sit and watch nearly 2 hours of video podcast, which is about the length we're about to hit on this one, you can obviously find us anywhere a good podcast can be found. And if you are finding podcasts somewhere and we are not available there, you let me know. I will make it happen. That is my guarantee. I swear to you that will happen. You can also find us occasionally streaming on Twitch. That can be followed at Experience Kills, Twitch TV/Experience Kills. Though I'm not doing a lot of streaming right now. I'm feeling like more produced videos. I'm enjoying this script thing. So I'm going to do some more of those. So you might not see a lot of Twitch streaming right now, but we'll see what happens. I change my mind on a daily basis about the format and stuff. So who knows what we'll do next week? It could be anything. I might do it in song. Reviews in song. What do you think, Rob? That's a fair face. That's a fair face.
I'm alright.
Right.
You enjoyed your reviews in song. I will sit here and play Destiny in the corner.
I can tell you that there won't be many channels doing reviews like that, so we could get a lot of views.
Yes. Okay, then.
How about poetry, iambic pentameter and stuff like that, or haiku, reviews in haiku? They'd be short. Please give us your feedback, as mentioned on the Twitters, or leave a comment on YouTube about these new review formats. So until next time, when I'm coming to you through song and poetry, I bid you all adieu. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.